Hey, fitness fans, welcome back. This is Eric Malzone with the Future of Fitness podcast and the Fitness Marketing Alliance. And this is lucky episode number 13. And we have Brian Alexander from CrossFit Illumine. So Brian has two gyms out in the Chicago area, and he is one heck of an innovator. There is a lot of really, really good information in here and things you can easily take away and apply to your own business. And I thought some of the interesting things was recently within his growth as a business owner, he's really focused on putting the right people in the right seats. And it makes perfect sense. A lot of times it's constantly overlooked, especially in our industry. And he also talks about how he got his MBA through failure. Early on, he owned a restaurant. It didn't go so well, but he took a ton of lessons and he's got a growth mindset. And he talks about that as well. So that's really important. And some of the other things I really enjoy, which I've taken ideas from him and made them my own as well, is the idea of excursions. So he'll explain all of that and how you can apply it to your business. And I think you'll really enjoy it. So before we do that, let's talk about our sponsor, Busy Bar. So you can find them at www.busybar.co. And they have 3 different flavors right now. They got double chocolate chip, peanut butter, cookie dough. It's only 1 gram of sugar, highest quality protein available, grass-fed whey, and 6 net carbs and 9 grams of fiber. And if you go there to their website and you enter in the promo code FMA10, Fitness Marketing Alliance 10, you will get 10% off every product, every order from now until the end of time. What a deal. Get on there and check it out. And without further ado, Brian Alexander of Illumine Fitness. Hey everybody, this is Eric with the Fitness Marketing Alliance, and today I have the extreme pleasure of sitting with Brian Alexander, who is the owner of CrossFit Illumine and Illumine Fitness, 2 locations out in the Chicago area. He's also a mentor for Two Brain Business. And Brian, brother, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So we love stories. Everybody loves stories, right? Everyone I've talked to in the fitness industry has a fitness story, right? How they got into it, how it's progressed. So tell us, what's your fitness story? How'd you get into this industry? What led you to it and all that good stuff?
Okay. Yeah. So, I was always the bro guy that would do, bench and biceps, back and triceps. Started working out when I was 17, and it had always been all show and no go.
Right.
So about the physique or the aesthetic piece of it all, and not necessarily geared towards any performance. So I started when I was 17. I did that for nearly a decade, and it works when you're young. But as you start to get older, it's the things that you have done no longer work as well as they used to have worked.
How old are you now, Brian?
I will be 37 on October 30th.
Young gun. Cool. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So, a little blend, I guess, or a little blend of the stories is, I had 2 conflicting lifestyles. I was in the nightlife and restaurant business, but then I would go to the gym, like an export workout. I'd have a cigarette, in between sets outside with my muscle milk. And, this is when I was like 22, 23, when you know everything, right? There's nothing left in the world to be learned, and a little egotistical and always a good guy, but, just young, right? Young and dumb.
Yep.
And ended up, kind of approaching my 30s, and people had always told me that I should do CrossFit. I looked the part. I looked like I was fit and in shape. People would always ask me questions and kind of pretend like I knew what I was doing, because they were looking at me like I was the expert, and they'd always ask for advice, but I wasn't living the lifestyle, right? And I felt like a phony, and I felt like a fraud. And, if I took my shirt off, I wasn't really lean. It just looked like I was, a big chunk of muscle. And I didn't like that about myself. And I never did. So I saw my picture of myself at my bachelor party in Miami, no shirt on, in a pool. And it was when we had gotten back from the trip. And I was like, man, that's really what I look like right now? Like after, spending an hour a day on cardio in the morning and then going to FFC to lift weights during lunch. Like this is it, 2 hours a day, and this is the best I can do.
Yeah, it's funny how it's like how we think we look
Yeah.
And then how we look in a photo. Yeah.
Right. And after seeing that, I was like, all right, well, I got to do something drastic because whatever I'm doing isn't working. So, I Googled the closest CrossFit after people feeding me the theory and the name of it. I really didn't even understand what the hell it was. I just signed up and I went in, did baseline, the 500 meter row, 40 air squats, 30 sit-ups, 20 push-ups, 10 ring rows. At that time, actually, it was pull-ups with bands at the old gym that I used to go to. And it crushed me. And I was like, wow, that is humbling. And, this is what I've been looking for my entire life, that I'm happy I finally found it. Signed up for Unlimited right away. And the rest is kind of history there.
Awesome. Yeah, I actually started with that same exact workout in San Francisco. And I remember I just wasn't right for about 5 hours. I think.
Yeah.
Where is this?
Okay.
Shocking. So you're a very cerebral person, right? You tend to think quite a bit. You're very much into personal development. I know you read a lot, and I know we probably follow a lot of the same people. Who are some of your mentors when you first started in business, and who are they now?
When I first started in business of opening my own gym.
Yeah.
So nobody, when I opened my own gym, nobody in the fitness business, but I would say more life mentors. So when I first started working in my corporate job, so little brief history is I invested in it and owned and operated a restaurant when I was 23. Got taken for every single penny by friends, crushed me mentally, emotionally. I went into super dark time in my life where I was in the nightlife and just not doing great things for myself or other people, and ended up getting a corporate job when I was 25. And I hadn't worked for anybody for 7 years, no structure in my life. And it was a wake-up call. I hated every single minute of it. But I remember the first month I was at CDW, one of the senior account managers, the role that I was in sales, spoke to the entire academy, who's like all the new account managers or salespeople. And I was really, really impressed. So I offered to take him out for coffee, so I could pick his brain. And he was really like the first person that really believed in me before I believed in myself. And that set off this chain reaction of success at CDW, personal development, going from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, just understanding that, if you work hard enough and you really are vested in anything, you can do anything. Prior to that, I didn't believe that, right? I just thought people were good at specific things and they're not. And some people just get lucky, some people don't. Right. So that's what set it off. And then the better I did at CDW, I'm like, wow, CDW and CrossFit, when I joined CrossFit, those happened at the same time, right? So I was at CDW for a little bit, and then I signed up for CrossFit. So between the two of those, they really, really played into each other really well. In sales, you have a leaderboard, right? They literally posted how many calls every salesperson made, how many, how much you've sold to them, how much profit you made, and also how much money you took home. So all public, all posted every day. How many hours? They put
your income on there as well?
Yeah. So it was the literal whiteboard. So when I found CrossFit, it was very familiar, right? I'm like, oh, this is kind of the same thing. And nobody wants to be at the bottom of the whiteboard. And it's this, intrinsic drive to be like, wow, if this guy just got a 3-minute Fran, I know it's possible. I don't know how the hell I'm going to get there, but I know at least it's possible because that guy did it and he doesn't look that much different than me. Right. That was the same thing as seeing a guy who made $1 million at CDW, not selling $1 million, but literally taking in $1 million of income. He looked no different than me, not necessarily much smarter than me. So to see that and be like, oh, this guy is a really decent, normal guy making a boatload of money. It's possible. How do I do it? I need to surround myself with those people, right?
Yeah.
So very long-winded answer to your question, but it kind of fills in the background of kind of how I got to where I am today from like a mindset standpoint. And from there, it's just been exponential kind of like personal growth for myself. And it's, never over, but me today versus me last year, I'm a completely different beast. And I hope to do that every year.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So how did you, you and I are similar because I did go from a corporate and I started my business, and there was actually some overlap time too. How did you personally make that switch when you went from corporate back into, because you already had a touch on entrepreneurship? Doesn't sound like sounds like a great learning experience, let's put it that way, with the restaurant.
It was my MBA in life. Yes.
Yeah, right. And so how did you, because maybe there's people out there who are doing two right now. They're doing a corporate gig or they're doing something and they really want to go full time into their fitness careers. How did you bridge that gap?
So when we opened our gym, I had been working at CDW for a while and I already had begun to do well. So when we opened the gym, it was a hobby. It was, all right, we're going to have 3 classes a day. I'll coach the 5:30 a.m. and then the 6 and 7 o'clock, regular class in on-ramp. And then my wife will coach the 9 a.m. Super simple business model. We'll make it work. And then, I kept doing well at CDW. That was a consuming job. The gym began to grow. That became more and more difficult to manage as it grew. And it came to a point where I was making a lot of money at CDW. The gym was going really well. And after having made a lot of money, I realized that money was not the thing that was making me happy. It was the pursuit of, not money, but the pursuit of building. So I love building and creating. And I just realized, I'm like, well, I'm working 16 hours a day here. The gym, to get it to where I want it to be, I need to really focus on that. And I had failed big enough before to make failure less scary for me to say, well, even though I'm making a lot of money at CDW and it's stable and, you would think you finally made it, right? In sales, it took me 7 years, well, really like 4 years and then 3 good years of making a lot of money. But it took a while to get there, right? A lot of hard work, a lot of cold calls and stuff I hated to do. But I didn't want to let that impact my decision. And again, having failed catastrophically when I was 23 with the restaurant, it eliminated all of my fear of failure. And that fear of failure is always there. But I knew I could reinvent myself had this not worked out, right? But I would never forgive myself for not trying.
Yeah.
And it ended up being, when I make decisions, it's like if I make the decision, it's a done deal, right? Like there's no like coming and hawing for months and months on end. And it was a month before my daughter was about to be born. So working 16, 18-hour days between CDW, running the gym. I'm like, well, I'm not going to be able to have time to be a great father or even a good father. I'm already not a great husband, even though I tried my best. But from the time that I was able to spend with my wife outside of the gym, it wasn't perfect, right? It was just CDW in Illumine and 18 hours, and she was in there somewhere, but it was more often in passing or at the gym. So I just decided I got to cut the cord. If I'm going to make this all work, and if I'm going to get Illumine to where I want it to go, I need to burn the ships and cut off all safety and not give myself a way out.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think, when it comes to decision making, my business partner and I talk about the rocking chair test, right? If you're sitting in a rocking chair when you're however old you are, 70, 80, maybe if you're making a 90, are you going to look back and say, I really regret trying, right?
Yeah.
No one's going to, what you're going to regret is not trying 100% of the time.
Right.
So let's talk about where you're at now, because I had the pleasure of going to your gym. Was that back in June?
Yeah.
Brain Summit. And I could see you just have a lot going on. Like your membership has a lot of options. Actually one of our colleagues referred to you as a nuclear isotope of ideas. And, so what, tell us kind of with the formula you've come to now with Illumine. And I'm curious too, on a kind of a sub question on that is, when you have all these ideas, how do you sort out which ones you want to follow and pursue and which ones you want to just back burner?
So the ideas never stop. And I'm a big idea guy. I'm an innovator, creator. That's kind of like my go-to. When we first opened, through maybe even 3 years ago, I'm sorry, last year. So we opened 4.5 years ago up until maybe a year ago. It was Brian comes up with an idea, he begins implementing it, and then he tells everybody what's going on. Half of them get it, and then the idea is kind of like, they work, but not quite as optimally, and it takes a little time to get people bought into the idea after it's already been rolled out. Yep. So trial and error, learning about my own strengths, but also figuring out how to work with people and get people to buy into these ideas, and figuring out like, okay, well, that did not work. The idea was solid, but why didn't it work? Can I be reflective on that process, and then maybe do it better the next time, right? So it's been this constant evolution of that. But at the same time, my personal mission statement is relentless with your vision, stoic in your actions, and empathetic in your interactions, right? So right. The last 4.5 years, I've been trying to figure out how I can continue to be relentless with my own vision, because I really believe in my vision in architecting the perfect form of something, right? But also getting people to buy in and understanding that maybe not all people move at the speed that I move. Maybe me moving at the speed that I move is not the best for everybody or Illumine. And then trying to figure out how to fill my gaps with people who understand and believe in my vision, but can also help implement these things well. And the last year has been spent solving that problem, right? And it's been a very interesting year for me. Again, this last year has been the most exponential personal growth year that I've ever had, when it comes to being a better leader and understanding people and understanding like how to actually make everything you want to do happen, and have a solid team around you to support you. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Extrapolate on that a little bit. So what is the last year? Maybe give us some examples of things that happened, or aha moments, where you got hit in the head with something that all of a sudden clarity, right? Give us a little background on that.
So really it's all about making sure that you have the right people in the right seats. I think we as gym owners, we all do a very good job of hiring great culture fits. Like, we're really good at picking out really good people and then having opportunities for them. And because they're a good person and you have an opportunity, we try to mesh those together. But what I think everyone finds is that's not always the best approach. So finding people who are passionate about, the vision is number one. But also who have the capacity to do the job the way you want the job done, whether it's, running a gym, if it's a head coach, if it's an operations manager or a GM, member experience person, whatever it might be, and putting the pieces of the puzzle together a little more like strategically, right. And taking a good person, having an opportunity and saying, okay, well, we'll see how that works, right?
Yeah, I'm very guilty of just throwing it together. It's funny because someone close to me mentioned like 5 years ago, like, Eric, are you aware that people don't think the way you do? I was like, no, actually wasn't. And that's a huge, it sounds simple and funny, but it's a huge realization. Like, oh, wow, people don't think like me.
It is. And that's something that I've learned along the way as well. And it was a shock because, our bias, I think, is we just assume people view the world through the same lens that we all view the world through. And every individual, I'm like really deep into like personality traits. There's like this Kolbe index that talks about the cognitive part of the mind, and it's so much more.
What was that, Brian?
The Kolbe index. It's KOLBE.
Okay.
So beyond just nurture in our experiences that lead us up to our perspectives and viewpoints, like there is literal traits. There are literal traits that are kind of hardwired into us, right? And the innate way we take action or we problem solve. And that's my new obsession is, how do I avoid setting people up to fail? Because at the end of the day, if I put somebody in a position and they failed, yes, they failed, but is it my fault for not recognizing that they weren't going to be a good fit for that? I think people will, jump on grenades for the leaders of communities and gyms. But it's challenging because we're all kind of learning as we go. There's some of us weren't general managers, or we've never hired people before. So it gets pretty interesting when you begin to think of it in that light. And that's kind of like what I'm really, really focused on for the last 6 months and in forever now is how can I more intelligently approach problems and piecing teams together for better synergy.
Yeah, it's huge. And it takes a while to even recognize it.
Yes.
I don't even know. I owned a gym for the better part of 9 years. I don't know if I actually ever recognized it until I sold, right?
Wow.
Like it took a long, long time. And one thing I loved about what you do, and I think this is something a lot of people can get some ideas from, was the idea of excursions.
Yeah.
Badge system. That's cool. That's cool as shit. Like that gets me, if I was a member of your gym, I'd be like, oh, I want to collect badges, right? So maybe explain what that is and how you came up with that concept and how you rolled out.
Yeah. So the Excursion is the Illumine name for a specialty program. And really the idea is, like if CrossFit general group classes are the cruise ship and you get, 80% of what you want to get out of that, how can we set up novelty around diving deeper into specific disciplines and going off to explore them, but while keeping everybody under one roof or under one trip, if you will, right?
Right.
So we set up the Excursions. It started off small, meaning just one program, and it was Olympic weightlifting. And then we added pose running and endurance. We added Russian kettlebell, OCR. And it's just been this natural kind of evolution over the last 4 years or so of identifying needs and wants from our clients, identifying passions of our coaches, and then matching those two or fusing those two. So now we have a pretty in-depth, I guess, or we have a deep breadth of offerings within our Excursions. And it just allows for, again, novelty. I always liken CrossFit to the MMA of fitness.
Nice.
So, if MMA has jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, boxing, and all of that, and they have to learn a little bit to be really good at MMA, CrossFit is very similar in the fact that you could dive deep into any of those disciplines, but they'll all make you better at CrossFit, right, if you do that.
Yeah. It's funny. My former business partner, Traber, he referred to CrossFit as MMA for guys who don't like to get hit in the face.
That's it. That is it. That's me.
Or people. Sorry.
People, guys and girls.
Guys and girls who don't like.
Very similar, and it's again, it's this moment of survival or moment of zen. Joe Rogan talks about it in jiu-jitsu. CrossFit. When I hear Joe Rogan speaking about jiu-jitsu in that way, it connects with CrossFit as well. It's that maybe 5 minutes of your entire life where you are in survival mode. And you're not thinking about anything you have to do. You can't afford to, right? You're not thinking about your honey-do list or your bills or your problems. It's you are present for that short amount of time. And I think that's the same thing that people get when they are, doing MMA or whatever it might be, jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when you're trying to if you're trying to snatch over 200 pounds, you're sure as shit not thinking about the dog food you have to pick up on the way home, right? That's just
right.
You're very present. Brian, you've done, you market your business in a lot of interesting ways. How have you, because the name of the show is The Future of Fitness, how have you kind of harnessed the digital age and technology, and how have you used that to grow your business, both from a marketing standpoint and from the people, your current clients internally? And then how do you see that changing, or what are your eyes looking at moving forward, right? That's a huge question, right? Go ahead.
That is. So being that I enjoy, I would say, incubating anything and everything. So if there is a better way to do anything, you can be sure I'm spending hours researching or playing around with a new software or trying something. I'm not afraid to spend a month or 2 months or 3 months working on something that I think may help the business or may help our marketing or whatever it might be. But if it doesn't work, I'm also not afraid to, after 3 months, abandon it and then begin something else, right?
Right.
So we're just starting to, dive into the world of digital marketing. But before that, it would just be member stories, organic shares, that whole story, which is very important still.
Yeah.
Facebook algorithms. I remember the point when they began to apply their algorithms where all of the sudden your reach was way less. I'm like, wow, that is so smart, because what we used to get for free, we're going to realize we really missed that reach, and we will pay anything to get it back.
Yep.
And they were dead on, right? It's amazing. Once you give somebody something and they get used to it, and you take it away, and if it was useful to them, they will do anything to get that back, just to get to back to a baseline, right?
Right.
That's what you're used to. So I remember that. I remember as it was happening, I'm like, wow, that is genius. And I hate every second of it, because they're taking from me what I was using as a free tool. But I appreciate it, because I'm like, that is exactly what they should do, right?
Right.
They have the leverage.
Yep.
But for me, it's always been about technology. Like when we first opened our gym, the gym I belonged to had paper and journals, and people would write it down, and half the people would use it, half wouldn't. It'd be impossible to go back and look for your old scores and times. And when I opened, I saw Wodify at the time, and they've been through their little ups and downs. They're on the right path right now.
Okay.
But it was different than anything out there when we opened our gym. And I'm like, wow, this is a great tool. We need this because it solves a problem. So the way I approach everything is I try to solve business problems, whether they exist now or if I think they may exist later. And I try to do that using technology and people.
Cool. Where do you see your business in the next 2 years? And do you have a roadmap to get there, or are you just kind of taking day by day?
Yeah, so we do typically a year out of timelining. So we identify, I've really spent this entire 4 years building the perfect archetype of the business that I think is going to, be a guiding star for many other gyms to follow, right? By innovating, and innovation is painful because literally incubating any idea or innovating is painful because you are the first one, right? There's no path to follow, but I'm creating that path and I'm documenting it all, right? So the gyms, I have 2 gyms right now, our group CrossFit, our individual design, our specialty programs, our nutrition program, our workshops. That's kind of like the meat and potatoes of it all. We do goal setting sessions, everything that we built up until this point, now we can allow to run very well. It doesn't mean I'm not going to find more trouble to get myself into when it comes to innovating, but I think we've out-innovated most people, and now it's time to kind of, work on just, I call them buckets, but the backstory on that is I once thought that 300 gym members was going to be like, heaven, right? I'm going to be filthy rich, and it's going to be amazing.
Dream, baby.
300 group CrossFit members, right? But when I got there 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, I realized that I wasn't happy with what I had built, right? And it's like creating this piece of artwork and realizing it's not quite right. And, I'm the kind of guy that will just wipe the whole damn thing clean and start over rather than just try to fix things here or there. And I realized you can do it a lot smarter and a lot better. And I started creating these programs, right? So, if we have group CrossFit, I think I can manage 200 people really well with that. We have the infrastructure, the coaching, the systems, processes, all of that. But then I think I can have about 75 Spark members. And Spark members are non-barbell, kind of HIIT functional training. It's, we call it the enlightened approach to boot camp.
Okay.
But then I think I can have 50 to 75 Legends members who are 50 years old and up, and they can be in their own little group. And then 20 ID clients. And then, nutrition is its own beast that can dip into the existing pools, or we can pull from the outside. And when you begin to piece it together like that, and it's a little easier to strategically fill those buckets up. when you sit down and talk to somebody in a no sweat intro, you know what bucket is best for them to accomplish their goals. And since you have many different options, it's easy to say, this is your best bet. Not, we have CrossFit, we can make it work for you. Now we have Legends, we have Spark, we have all these different programs that is best for them. Not, we can make it work for you, right?
Yeah. So when people are interested in joining your gym, they always start off with a consultation, right?
Yeah.
And then, was it you that kind of coined the prescriptive model?
So Chris.
Yeah.
Chris,
okay.
From Brain, yeah.
Okay.
But we worked on the goal setting together. It was just a need or a gap that had to be filled for sure.
Yeah. Because I think it's interesting when you start looking at the client path, right, from start to finish, and what was different, I think, when you look at a lot of any kind of, whether it's CrossFit or any kind of group model, it's like, okay, we're just going to hammer that square peg into the round hole.
Yeah.
Just the way it's all we knew. And then you guys started thinking about, well, maybe if we just sit down and talk to people, right, do a little bit of investigation, find out what they want, and then as the coach, as the professional that you are, you tell them what they should be doing, right? I mean, not in any kind of forceful way, but I think in a way that people will understand. So is there, if you're talking to like a kettlebell trainer right now, right, or someone who's listening who's not in CrossFit, how would they take that model and run with it on their own?
So, I mean, kettlebell would be a little unique and different, but, a lot of the principles would remain the same. Really, and just sit down and talk to people about what their specific goals are, and then ask them point blank, are you more comfortable in group classes or one-on-one personal training? The mistake I think many gyms have made forever is, our biases, because group fitness and CrossFit did so well for me or for you that it should be for everybody. And if people just give it a shot, and if they just try hard enough and they don't quit for long enough, they're going to see the results. Right. In theory, CrossFit could be for everybody. I believe that 100%. In practice, it doesn't quite work as black and white. So you can apply CrossFit or kettlebell training. The first step is, what do you feel more comfortable with, group classes or personal training? But beyond that, there's so much more to it, right? So if we can just talk and identify what people's goals are, we can begin to say, well, you know what, maybe like this person has no business doing a 3x5 back squat at 80%, or an overhead squat. If she's, I always use the 45-year-old soccer mom who has 50 pounds to lose. Should we be making them overhead squat with an empty PVC pipe? Like, if they need to lose weight, is that going to elicit any response to help them lose weight, or are we just teaching them like a really cool party trick?
Yeah,
you can overhead squat, great, or she can snatch with the PVC.
Right.
I don't disagree that it's important for people to learn new skills. So I don't want to be mistaken for that. But I promise you that if you have somebody in that situation doing a 5x10 heavy goblet squat with the kettlebell, you're going to get a much better result. And you're going to help them achieve their goals faster, rather than forcing, Sally into doing a overhead squat with a PVC pipe for 100 reps because she can't load it because she's has shoulder issues. Or even worse, the soccer mom that hurts herself and tears a rotator cuff because she's doing kipping pull-ups, and all she wanted was to lose some fat, right? And now she can't work out for 2 years, and she's, distraught about it, and she goes off on an eating binge, and you never see her again. Yeah. So everything we do at Illumine is under constant scrutiny, and that's why we change so much, because if there is a better way to do it, we have to. Like, there's no question about it. We have to scrap what we've done in favor of the better way to do it, right? And this is how you evolve.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then just, looking from a personal anecdote, I'm 41 now, and when I we drop into CrossFit classes, my wife and I are traveling quite a bit right now, so we'll drop in, and I've finally got to the point where, like, how strong do I need to be? Right?
Yeah.
How strong is strong enough? And then at what point am I risking injury? And what about all the other things that I love to do? Meanwhile, Eric of 5 years ago would have been like, I got to train for the open, dude. I don't care if my knee hurts. I don't care if my shoulder hurts, right? So it's like you have to catch people where they are within their life too. And that's a big part of it. So kind of staying in that realm, tell us what you're up to now, because I know you're working on the blueprint to success, right? I think you said, is that still a project you're working on, or?
It is.
Yeah. So tell me about that, or tell us.
Yes. The blueprint is, I hesitate to call it life coaching, but it really is.
Why do you hesitate?
It's kind of like the word personal trainer. I think there's a lot of crap out there that are associated with these terms, right?
It's fair.
Really what it is, it's sitting down with people and having them identify specific actionable goals for specific, we call them pillars of your life, whether it's travel and leisure, health and fitness, business and financial, career. We have 6 different pillars, and you can't just focus on 1 or 2 out of the 6 and have a fulfilled life, right? Or you can't be happy if you're heavy on 2 and light on the other 4. So we try to teach people, how do you nurture all 6? So first you have to identify what you think you want your life to look like in each 6 of those categories. And then we help them identify specific action items to help them get there. And then we hold them accountable, right? Because we know all of the best laid plans are useless without accountability. I know it myself. I'm a highly motivated individual. I'm a self-starter. But if somebody's not holding me accountable, like for nutrition or other things, it's easy to put it off, and it's easy to just brush it under the rug and say, I'll get to it later, right? But when somebody's holding you accountable, it really, really pushes you to stay on target with your focuses. And then, every year over year, if you're actually doing these little micro things to get you to these bigger goals, you're going to look back and you're going to be glad you did it. But first you have to start, right?
Yeah. And I think that's a huge component of having client longevity too, is getting them to see, hey, it's not about the next 30 days. It's about the next 30 years. And I'm going to help you. I can offer value there. And if I was in the Chicago area, I would train at your gym hand down. Brian, where do people get a hold of you? If people want to talk to you, they want to ask you questions, or just kind of follow you, where do they go?
So the main address I try to funnel everybody through now, if it's not to sign up for the gym, is just brian@twobrainbusiness.com.
Awesome.
That's the easiest for me. I have way too many emails out there, way too many Slack channels and all that. But yeah, that's typically the easiest way to get hold of me.
Okay, great. Well, I have a lot of respect for what you do, Brian. I think you do a great job, and probably in your own mind, you're your biggest critic, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. My wife would agree.
Yeah. So just keep it on, man. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep refining systems. And thank you very much. I appreciate your time. It's been great talking to you.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Future of Fitness podcast and webinar series. We're working really hard here to keep great content coming out. And we'd like to express our gratitude by offering you a free 7-day marketing crash course. So here's how you can claim it. If you go to fitnessmarketingalliance.com/free gift, FREEGIFT, and you enter the promo code FITMARK, FITMARK, you can claim it that way. The other way is you can text us. So you can text the phone number 805-619-5550, and you text the word FITMARK, FITMARK. So thank you. Keep listening. Go claim that offer. It's a ton of value. And if you ever want to get a hold of me, or if you have suggestions for guests, topics, or anything else, or if you just want to ask me questions, I always respond. You can reach me at Eric, ERIC, at fitnessmarketingalliance.com. And keep listening. We have a lot more coming down the pipe, and we'll make sure that we're keeping the value great for you guys. And farewell till next time.